The grand chamber of the Galactic Council stretched high into the artificial sky of Station Prime, a massive space station that orbited no world and belonged to no single species. Here, the greatest civilizations in the galaxy gathered to discuss matters of war, peace, and survival. Ambassador David Chun sat in the human delegation seat, a modest chair compared to the towering platforms of the elder species. The insectoid Velkari occupied crystalline thrones that hummed with energy. The Lumineth floated in containment fields of pure light. The gaseous Quorum swirled in massive spheres of pressurized atmosphere. The Zarathian Collective has conquered another system, High Counselor Vekthar announced, his mandibles clicking with each word. His compound eyes swept across the chamber with what Chun had learned to recognize as contempt. That brings their total to 47 systems in 6 standard months. Murmurs rippled through the assembly, but Chun noticed something disturbing. No one seemed truly alarmed, just annoyed, as if the Zerathians were an inconvenience rather than an existential threat. What of the colonies in the Outer Rim? Chun asked, standing from his seat. There are millions of beings there, including 17 human settlements. What is the Council's plan to protect them? Vekthar antennae twitched in what Chun had learned was the Velkari equivalent of a dismissive laugh. Ambassador Chun, humanity has only been part of this council for 30 years. You must understand that these matters require delicate consideration. Delicate consideration? Chun's voice rose despite his training in diplomatic restraint. The Zerathians just sent an ultimatum: surrender the Outer Rim or they will exterminate every living being in those systems. A Lumineth representative, its voice like wind chimes in a storm, spoke from its glowing sphere. The human ambassador fails to understand. The Zerathians are a warrior culture. They have superior numbers, and advanced plasma technology resistance would be futile and would only result in greater casualties. So you're suggesting we surrender? Chun couldn't believe what he was hearing. Just give them the colonies. Give them millions of innocent lives. We suggest evacuation, Quorum Council member Thresh said, its gaseous form pulsing with different colors. We have 3 weeks before the Zerathian deadline. That is sufficient time to remove essential personnel and resources. Essential personnel. Chun felt his jaw clench. You mean you'll save some and leave the rest to die? Vektar's mandibles clicked rapidly now, a sign of irritation. Ambassador, humanity is barely spacefaring. You have been among the stars for only 300 years. The Velkari have sailed the cosmic seas for 12,000 years. The Lumineth for 20,000. We know things you do not. Then share that knowledge. Chun demanded. Tell us how to fight them. Humanity has experience in warfare. We can help defend those colonies. The chamber erupted in what could only be described as laughter. Different species made different sounds, but the meaning was universal. They found his suggestion absurd. Human warfare? A Velkari military advisor chittered. Your species fights with chemical propellants and crude explosives. The Zerathians wield plasma that burns at temperatures your primitive minds cannot comprehend. Another Lumineth added, its tone dripping with condescension. Your fastest ships require weeks to travel between systems, as Raven battle cruisers are 3 times faster. You would arrive at the battle to find only debris and ash. Chun looked around the chamber and saw it clearly now. These ancient species, with their millennia of civilization and technological advancement, viewed humanity as children worse, as primitives who had barely crawled out of their caves. What about our training? Chun pressed. Human military academies, our strategic traditions. Our world is a Class 12 death world, Vekthar interrupted. Yes. We know gravity 3 times what most species can tolerate. An atmosphere so oxygen-rich it would kill many of us. Predators at every level of the food chain, but survival on a harsh world does not make you warriors. It makes you lucky to have survived at all, Thresh added. The Council has voted evacuation will begin immediately, non-essential. Personnel will be left behind with sufficient supplies to last until they're slaughtered, Chen finished coldly. That is an unfortunate possibility. Vekthar acknowledged without emotion. But the Council's responsibility is to the greater galactic community. We cannot risk a war. We cannot win over colonies on the fringe of civilized space. Chen stood there, surrounded by beings who commanded fleets of thousands, who had technology that seemed like magic, who had civilizations older than human recorded history, and they were cowards. Then humanity will not participate in this evacuation. Chen said quietly, "We will defend our colonies." More laughter echoed through the chamber. With what fleet? A Valkyrie admiral clicked mockingly. Humans have 12 deep space vessels. 6 are cargo haulers. 4 are scientific research ships. 2 are diplomatic transports. What will you defend with, Ambassador? Harsh language? Chen wanted to tell them, wanted to explain that humanity had not been idle during their 30 years in the galactic community, wanted to reveal the shipyards hidden throughout the Sol system, the military buildup that had continued in secret, the weapons and strategies that have been developed away from Council oversight, but orders were orders. Earth's government had been clear. Reveal nothing until absolutely necessary. We will do what we must. Chen said simply. Visser waved a claw dismissively. The vote is final. Evacuation begins tomorrow. Council adjourned. As the various species filed out of the chamber, Chen remained in his seat, thinking about the 17 human colonies in the outer rim. New Terra, with its 3 million inhabitants. Proxima Outpost with its families and children. Armstrong Station with its miners and engineers. He thought about the message he would send, the one that would break every diplomatic protocol. That would end his career. That might even be considered treason by some on Earth. But as he watched the Galactic Council abandon millions to their fate, Chen knew there was only one choice. He accessed his personal communicator, bypassing official channels, sending an encrypted message directly to Earth Defense Command, a message that read simply, "They've left us to die. Council refuses to defend. Outer Rim colonies Erethian attack imminent in 3 weeks. Requesting immediate military intervention, please." Someone answered this call. Chen pressed send and sat back in his chair. In 3 weeks, the galaxy would learn something the Council had forgotten. In their millennia of peace and prosperity, humanity did not abandon its own. Admiral Sarah Kowalski stood in the command center of Earth Defense Headquarters, deep beneath the mountains of Geneva, watching as Ambassador Chen's message played for the 5th time. The holographic display showed his face, aged beyond his 50 years by stress and disappointment. "They've left us to die." His voice echoed through the silent room. "Council refuses to defend. Outer Rim colonies Erethian attack imminent in 3 weeks. Around her, military leaders from every nation on Earth watched with expressions that ranged from fury to determination. Humanity had been preparing for this moment since they first ventured into space and met the Galactic Council. Since they first realized the truth that galactic civilization had grown soft. "How many ships can we deploy?" asked General Morrison. His weathered face. Grim. Kowalski pulled up a tactical display that filled the air with glowing points of light. 200 vessels, 12 heavy carriers, 38 dreadnoughts, 74 destroyers, 46 frigates, and 30 support craft. A Chinese admiral leaned forward, studying the display. "The Council doesn't know about any of these, correct? They think we have 12 ships." Kowalski confirmed. "We've been building in secret for 50 years, every nation contributing, every resource carefully hidden. The Council's arrogance is our advantage." They never bothered to look closely at what humanity was doing in our own system. 200 ships against the Zerethian collective, Morrison said thoughtfully. "Intelligence reports they have over 1,000 vessels." "Yes," Kowalski agreed. but they've never fought a species from a Class 12. Deathworld. She pulled up another display. This one, showing Earth rotating in space, the blue marble that had forged humanity through millions of years of brutal evolution. Let me remind everyone what that classification means. Kowalski began, her voice taking on a lecturer's tone. Earth's gravity is 3 times the galactic average. Every human in this room is 3 times stronger than the typical Council species simply because we evolved to walk upright under immense weight. She changed the display to show various Earth environments. Our atmosphere contains 21% oxygen for most species. This is toxic. They get oxygen poisoning and die. For us, it means our blood carries more oxygen to our muscles and brains. We can think faster and fight longer. Another image showed Earth's predators: lions, tigers, bears, sharks, crocodiles. Most council species evolved on worlds with herbivores as the dominant life forms. Earth had apex predators at every level. Humanity survived by becoming the greatest predator of all. We learned to hunt in packs, to use tools, to plan and strategize, and never, ever give up. A Brazilian general spoke up. What about their technology advantage? Kowalski smiled grimly. The council species have had peace for thousands of years. They've forgotten how to innovate weapons. Their plasma technology is advanced, yes, but it's also standardized and predictable. Humanity has never stopped preparing for war. She pulled up schematics of human weapons. We use kinetic energy railguns that fire solid slugs at relativistic speeds, missiles packed with fusion warheads, electromagnetic pulse weapons that fry their delicate systems, while they perfected energy shields. We perfected ways to punch through them with raw physical force. Barbaric, someone muttered. But there was pride in the voice. Exactly. Kowalski agreed. And effective. Our soldiers train in 3 times normal gravity. Our pilots learn to function under acceleration that would kill most species. Our Marines practice boarding actions in 0G while wearing powered armor that enhances our already superior strength. Morrison stood. His decision made. We need governmental approval. Already secured. Kowalski said. The president, the prime ministers, the premiers, they all agreed the moment Chun's message arrived. Humanity doesn't abandon its own. Within hours, the message spread across Earth, and its colonies' news networks showed Chun's desperate plea. Public squares filled with protesters demanding action. Recruitment centers were overwhelmed with volunteers. A young woman in New York told a reporter, "My sister lives on Armstrong Station. If the council won't help her, then I will. I'm enlisting today." An old man in Tokyo said to the cameras, "I fought in wars on Earth. I'm too old to fight in space. But my grandson isn't go show them what humans are made of." The sentiment was universal. 17 million humans lived in those outer rim colonies. They had left Earth seeking new lives, new opportunities, new horizons, and Earth would not forget them in orbit above Earth. The defense fleet began to assemble ships that had been hidden in asteroid belts and on the far side of the moon now emerged. Their hulls painted in the matte black of military vessels. Their weapons bristling like the spines of ancient warships. The flagship, Un's Indomitable, was a massive carrier that dwarfed anything the Council had seen from humanity, 3 kilometers long, carrying 500 strike craft and enough firepower to level a continent. Admiral Kowalski boarded her ship, walking through corridors filled with crew members from every nation: Nigerian engineers, Russian pilots, Indian Marines, American gunners, all unified under the blue and white flag of United Earth on the bridge. Her executive officer saluted. "All ships report ready. Admiral, we can jump to FTL in 1 hour." Kowalski settled into her command chair and looked at the tactical display. 200 human ships, ready to face an armada 5 times their size. "Before we depart," she said, opening a fleet-wide channel, "I want everyone to understand what we're about to do to Galactic. Council thinks we're primitives. They think our technology is crude and our tactics are unsophisticated. They have no idea what a species from a death world can do when protecting its own. She paused, letting her words sink in. Humanity didn't reach the top of Earth's food chain by being the strongest or the fastest. We got there by being the most stubborn, the most adaptable, and the most willing to do whatever it takes to survive. The Xerithians are about to learn that lesson across the fleet. Crew members straightened at their stations in the Marine base. Soldiers checked their weapons in the fighter hangars. Pilots ran pre-flight checks in engineering. Technicians made final adjustments to experimental systems, navigation. Set course for Proxima Outpost, Kowalski ordered. All ships. This is Admiral Kowalski. Humanity has been underestimated for too long today. We show the galaxy what Deathworlders can do. Fleet, prepare to jump. The 200 ships of Earth's defense fleet activated their Phi-Al drive. Space twisted and bent around them as they disappeared from Earth orbit, leaving behind only the faint radiation signature of their departure. High Counselor Vecthar, monitoring deep space communications from Station Prime, detected the unusual energy signature. His mandibles clicked in confusion as his sensors analyzed the readings. Impossible, he muttered. Those energy signatures, they indicate 200 vessels, but humans only have 12 ships. He pulled up the tactical data and felt something he hadn't experienced in his 800 years of life. A cold sense of dread. The humans had lied. They had built a war fleet in secret, and now that fleet was heading straight for the Zarethian siege. Lenisvec. Tar immediately opened a priority channel to the Zarethian command. This is High Counselor Vecthar of the Galactic Council. Be advised, a human fleet of 200 vessels is en route to Proxima Outpost. I repeat, the humans have a military fleet. The Zarethian commander's response came through, filled with electronic laughter. 200 primitive ships? We have 1,000 vessels. Let them come. We will add human colonies to our conquered territories and human ships to our scrap heaps. Vecthar closed the channel and sat back in his throne, deep in his ancient mind. Something whispered a warning. Humanity came from Earth, a Class 12 death world. A planet so hostile that merely surviving there required traits that most species never develop: aggression, endurance, ruthlessness, adaptability. Perhaps, Vecthar said quietly to himself, we have made a terrible mistake. The Zarethian siege fleet surrounded Proxima Outpost like predators. Circling wounded prey, 500 warships formed a blockade around the small human colony. Their plasma cannons charged and ready, their shields shimmering with deadly energy. Commander Zek Thrax stood on his flagship's bridge. His reptilian features twisted into what passed for a smile among his species. The colony below held 3 million humans, all trapped and helpless, all waiting for the inevitable bombardment. Status of the evacuation ships? He hissed to his tactical officer. 17 council vessels departed 3 days ago. The officer reported. They took only a few thousand beings, mostly council species. The humans remain. Excellent, Zek Thrax said. When we destroy this colony, the council will see what happens to those who defy the Zarethian collective. An alarm suddenly blared across the bridge. Sensors lit up with new contacts emerging from FDL, Commander. The sensor officer's voice cracked with confusion. Multiple contacts, no. Dozens, no. Hundreds of contacts emerging at the edge of the system. The main view screen changed to show space itself rippling and tearing as ship after ship dropped out of F-Talau, sleek human vessels with angular hulls and weapons that looked crude. Compared to Zarethian plasma technology, Zecrax counted. Quickly 200 ships. Just as the council had warned, he began to laugh. A rasping sound that echoed through the bridge. 200 ships against 500, he said. The humans are either brave or stupid, probably both all ships. Combat formation. Let's show these Deathworlders what real warfare looks like on the bridge of Un's Indomitable. Admiral Kowalski watched the Xarathian fleet reform to face them. The tactical display showed their numerical disadvantage clearly. They outnumber us 5-2. Her XO observed, "They think numbers matter." Kowalski replied, "Weapons prepare first strike package all ships. Execute plan Thunderstrike." The human fleet suddenly accelerated, not at the measured pace of typical space battles, but at velocities that made the Xarathian sensors scream warnings. Ships built to withstand 3 gravity. Acceleration pushed their engines to 7 gravities. Moving faster than the Xarathians thought possible. Impossible. Zekthrak shouted. Those acceleration rates would crush their crews. What he didn't know was that every human on those ships had trained in high-gravity chambers. Their bodies were already adapted to forces that would kill most species. The human fleet split into 3 prongs, a classic Earth tactic from ancient naval warfare, each group targeting a different section of the Xarathian formation. Fire plasma cannons. Zekthrak's orb-red flew white streams of superheated plasma lanced out from the Xarathian fleet, their most advanced weapons, capable of melting through starship hulls in seconds. Xarathians watched confidently as their shots reached their targets. Then the humans did something unexpected. Instead of trying to dodge or absorb the hits with shields, they fired clouds of reflective chaff, billions of tiny metal particles that scattered and diffused the plasma beams, reducing their effectiveness by 70%. What are they doing? Zekthrak stared in disbelief. Human ships close to weapons range and opened fire, but not with plasma or energy. Weapons, they fired solid slugs of depleted uranium, accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed by electromagnetic railguns. Xarathian shields, designed to deflect energy weapons, were nearly useless against kinetic projectiles. The slugs punched through shields like they weren't even there, tearing into hull plating and causing catastrophic damage. 3 Xarathian cruisers exploded in the first 30 seconds of combat. "Return fire! Return fire!" Zekthrak screamed, but the humans weren't finished. They launched missiles, hundreds of them, each one guided by artificial intelligence that could think and react faster than any biological pilot. The Xarathians tried to shoot down the missiles with point defense plasma. They destroyed many, but not enough missiles slammed into Xarathian ships and detonated with the fury of miniature Sun's fusion warheads that released energy equivalent to megatons of TNT. More ships died. 15, then 20, then 30. The Xarathian formation began to break apart. How are they doing this? The tactical officer asked in horror. On the human side, losses were mounting. 2s Xarathian plasma cut through 12 destroyers and 4 frigates. But the humans didn't retreat. They didn't panic. They pressed forward with mechanical precision. All Marine boarding teams. Kowalski ordered, "You are cleared for assault. Show them what Deathworlders can do up close." From the human carriers, small assault shuttles launched heavily armored craft carrying Marine boarding teams. They dodged plasma fire and latched onto Xarathian hulls like Parasite's Captain Marcus Chen, nephew of Ambassador David Chen, led his Marine team through the breach they'd cut in a Xarathian cruiser's hull. The airlock explosive charge had left a gaping hole into the enemy ship. "Move. Move, move." Marcus shouted, his voice amplified by his powered armor. The Marines rushed through each one wearing a mechanical exoskeleton that made them even stronger than their Deathworld physiology already allowed in their hands. They carried automatic railgun rifles and plasma cutters. Xarathians inside the ship tried to fight back. They were trained soldiers, professionals who had conquered dozens of worlds, but they had never faced humans in close combat. Zyrthian warrior stood 2.5 meters tall, impressive by galactic standards, but it had evolved on a low-gravity world. Marcus, in his powered armor, stood 2 meters tall and massed twice as much. He moved like a tiger. Fast and lethal, the Zyrthian fired its plasma rifle. Marcus's armor absorbed the hit, the thermal padding and reflective coating dissipating most of the energy. Then Marcus was on top of the warrior, his armored fist crushing through the alien's chestplate in a single punch. "Secure this corridor," Marcus ordered. Team 2, head to engineering. Team 3, take the bridge. The Zyrthians fell back in terror. They had fought many species, but never one so physically powerful, so aggressive, so seemingly fearless of death. On the bridge of the Zyrthian cruiser, the captain watched in horror as his security cameras showed humans tearing through his ship. They moved in coordinated teams, covering each other, using tactics honed through thousands of years of human warfare. They fight like devils. The captain whispered. One of his officers tried to seal a blast door. A human marine simply punched through it, the powered armor servos whining as metal bent and broke within 15 minutes. Marcus and his team reached the bridge. The Zyrthian captain and crew surrendered immediately, their hands raised, their eyes wide with fear. "This ship is now property of United Earth," Marcus announced. "You are prisoners of war. Cooperate, and you'll be treated according to interstellar law. Resist and well. You've seen what happens across the battlefield." Similar scenes played out. Human boarding teams captured 6 Zyrthian ships intact, a prize that would give Earth valuable intelligence. The main battle continued for 3 hours. The humans lost 40 ships, a casualty rate of 20%. Any council species would have retreated at 10% losses. But humans kept fighting, kept coordinating, kept adapting to Zyrthian tactics in real time. By the end, the Zyrthian fleet had lost 200 vessels, 40% of their force. The survivors began to retreat. Jumping to FTL, and Panachakthrak sat in his command chair, staring at the tactical display in disbelief. He had outnumbered the humans 5-2. He had superior technology, and he had lost. How? He whispered. "How did primitives defeat us?" His tactical officer answered quietly. "They weren't primitives, Commander. They were predators, and we were prey." Admiral Kowalski surveyed the battlefield from her bridge. 40 ships lost, 8,000 crew members dead. The price of victory weighed heavily on hers. "Open a channel to the Zyrthian fleet," she ordered. All frequencies. When the channel opened, Kowalski's voice rang out cold and clear. "This is Admiral Sarah Kowalski of the United Earth Defense Fleet. You came to our colonies seeking easy conquest. You thought humans were weak. You were wrong." She paused, letting her words echo across the void. "This is your only warning. Leave human space. Abandon all claims to the Outer Rim, or the next time we meet, we won't stop at driving you away. We will hunt every single one of your ships across the galaxy until the Zyrthian Collective is nothing but a footnote in history." The transmission ended. The Zyrthian survivors fled, carrying with them a new and terrifying truth. Humans were not primitives to be conquered. They were Deathworlders, forged by the most hostile planet in known space. And they had just announced their arrival on the galactic stage on Proxima Outpost below. 3 million colonists emerged from their shelters and looked up at the sky at the human fleet that had answered their desperate call, at the proof that Earth never abandoned its own. They cheered until their voices were hoarse, knowing that everything had changed. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. News of the Battle of Proxima Outpost spread through the galaxy at faster-than-light speed. Trading vessels carried the story from system to system. Diplomatic channels buzzed with frantic communications. Intelligence agencies scrambled to understand what had happened. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session just 48 hours after the battle, Every major species sent representatives, all demanding answers about the human military fleet that had appeared from nowhere. High Counselor Vecthar stood before the assembly, his compound eyes dimmer than usual. The reports are confirmed. Humanity possesses a military fleet of approximately 200 warships. They engaged a Xarathian siege force and achieved victory with minimal losses. Minimal? A Lumineth representative interrupted, its light pulsing with agitation. The humans lost 40 ships, 20% casualties. Any rational species would have retreated at 10% losses. That is precisely the point, Vecthar said quietly. Humans are not like us. They do not retreat. They do not surrender. They fight until they win, or until they are completely destroyed. Quorum Council member Thresh swirled in its containment sphere, colors shifting through worried patterns. How did we not know about this fleet? We have monitoring stations throughout human space. Our intelligence services track ship movements. How did they hide 200 military vessels? A Valkyrie intelligence officer stepped forward, mandibles clicking nervously. They built them in their home system, behind their moon, in asteroid belts, in orbital positions where our sensors didn't reach. They've been preparing for 50 years. Ever since they joined the council, they never trusted us. Can you blame them? Ambassador Chun's voice cut through the murmurs. He stood from his seat, his face showing the exhaustion of the past weeks. This council abandoned 17 million beings to die. My people did what they had to do. They prepared to defend themselves. They violated the military limitation treaty. The Valkyrie admiral protested. Species under 1,000 years of spaceflight are forbidden from maintaining standing military forces. Chun smiled without humor. The treaty you never bothered to enforce. The one that didn't stop the Xarathians from building their war machine, that treaty? Before anyone could respond, new reports arrived. Human fleets were engaging Xarathian forces across 6 different systems. Admiral Ola Kowalski had divided her forces into strike groups, each one hunting Xarathian vessels with ruthless efficiency. Tactical displays showed human victories in system after system at Kepler Station. 20 human destroyers destroyed a Xarathian supply convoy at New Harmony. Human Marines boarded a Xarathian command ship and captured it intact at Armstrong Station. Human fighters overwhelmed Xarathian picket forces. They're pushing the Xarathians back, Vecthar said, studying the reports systematically, methodically. This isn't just defense. This is a campaign of conquest. Emergency intelligence briefing was called Valkyrie. Analysts presented their findings to a stunned council. We have studied human evolution and history. The lead analyst began. What we found is disturbing. Images of Earth appeared on holographic displays. The blue planet looked beautiful. But the data told a different story. Humans evolved as persistence hunters, the analyst explained. On Earth, prey animals are faster than humans, stronger than humans, but humans can run for hours, days even. They chase their prey until it collapses from exhaustion. This hunting method requires unmatched stamina and an absolute refusal to give up. Another image showed human history battles. Wars, conflicts spanning thousands of years. Human recorded history contains over 15,000. Significant military conflicts, the analyst continued. They have never known true peace. Every century of their existence includes dozens of wars. They have studied warfare continuously since their beginning. It is woven into their culture, their literature, their philosophy. A Lumineth counselor's light flickered with confusion. But they seemed so reasonable, so diplomatic. How did we miss this? Because they wanted us to, the analyst replied. Humans are apex predators. True predators don't announce their presence. They observe. They plan. They wait for the right moment. Humanity spent 30 years observing us, learning our weaknesses, preparing their response. Thresh's colors shifted to deep purple, a calm expression of deep worry. What are their weaknesses? How do we counter them? The analyst was silent for a long moment. That is the problem. We cannot identify significant weaknesses. They can survive in almost any environment. Their technology is adaptable and innovative. Their tactics are unpredictable because they learn and evolve during combat. Their pain tolerance is exceptional. Their social cohesion is stronger than any species we've studied. There must be something. A council member insisted. They're only apparent. Weakness is their loyalty, the analyst said. They will risk everything to protect their own. But this is also their greatest strength. It makes them utterly predictable in one way. They will never abandon their people. Reports continued to arrive. Human fleets were now deep in Zarithian territory. The Zarithians, who had conquered 47 systems in months, were being pushed back in weak sick Thrax, now reduced to commanding a small flotilla after the destruction of most of his fleet, made a desperate transmission to the Council. We request mediation. The Zarithian collective is willing to negotiate with the humans. The Council brought both sides together for emergency talks. Zek, Thrax, and the Zarithian delegation sat across from Admiral Kowalski and Ambassador Chun. We propose a ceasefire. Zek Thrax began, his voice hoarse. The Zarithian collective will withdraw from the Outer Rim. We will return to our original territories. Not good enough, Kowalski said flatly. You will withdraw from all systems you conquered in the past year. You will pay reparations to every species you attacked. You will surrender your military command structure for war crimes trials, and you will reduce your fleet to defensive forces only. Those terms are unacceptable. Zek Thrax hissed. You ask us to dismantle our entire civilization. No, Chun said quietly. We ask you to stop being murderers. You came to our colonies planning to kill millions. You fired the first shots. You made your choice. Now you live with the consequences. Zek Thrax turned to the Council. You cannot allow this. These humans are too dangerous, too aggressive. They must be stopped. Vekthar looked at the Zarethian commander with cold, compound eyes. You want us to fight the humans? After what we've seen? After your defeat? Then help us negotiate better terms. Zek Thrax pleaded. The council members looked at each other. Then Vekthar spoke words that changed everything. The Galactic Council recognizes that humanity has legitimate grievances we abandoned their colonies. We failed in our duty to protect peaceful settlements. Humanity's military response, while excessive by our standards, was justified. We cannot intervene on behalf of an aggressor species against a defensive action. Zek Thrax realized the truth. The council was afraid of what humanity represented. Afraid of starting a war with Deathworlders. Afraid that human fleets might turn their attention to council. Worlds. The Zarathian collective had no choice. They accepted human terms, but the council's concerns went deeper than just one war. Emergency sessions continued for weeks, discussing what to do about humanity. They've proven themselves militarily, a Valkyrie strategist said. But can we trust them? Will they use this military power to conquer others? Chun addressed the council with carefully chosen words. Humanity doesn't seek conquest, we seek respect. For 30 years, you treated us like children, like primitives, who got lucky surviving on a harsh world. You laughed at our warnings. You abandoned us when we needed help. He paused, his voice hardening. We defended ourselves because no one else would. We built weapons because we couldn't trust you to protect us. We trained soldiers because we learned that in this galaxy, strength is the only thing species respect. What do you want? Vekthar asked recognition. Chun replied, humans are not second-class members of this council. We are equals. Our military will not be disbanded. We will maintain our fleet and our defenses, and if the Council calls for help, we will answer, but we will never again trust our safety to species who view us as expendable. The Council voted humanity would be granted full military sovereignty. The Military Limitation Treaty would be amended to recognize Earth's special status as a Deathworld species, but privately. Council members began reaching out to Earth's government. Raid deals were offered. Technology exchanges were proposed. Mutual defense pacts were suggested. Valkyrie approached first. Our intelligence services could learn from human tactical innovation. The Lumineth followed. Perhaps human physicists could collaborate with our researchers. The Quorum whispered, if other threats emerge, might we count on human assistance? Admiral Kowalski, still commanding her fleet in the field, received these messages with satisfaction. Humanity had earned something more valuable than territory or resources. They had earned fear, and with fear came respecting her private quarters. She looked at the casualty reports, 8,000 dead in the first battle. Another 12,000 in the subsequent campaign, 20,000 humans, who gave their lives defending colonies they'd never visited, protecting people they'd never met. They didn't die for conquest, she said quietly. They died proving we matter, that humanity matters, that Deathworlders don't bow to anyone. 6 months after the end of the Zerithian War, the galaxy had transformed. Human ships now patrolled the outer rim colonies, their angular hulls a constant reminder that Earth protected its own trading routes that had been disrupted by Zerithian aggression. Reopened under human escort species that had fled their homes during the conflict returned to find human marines helping with reconstruction. Ambassador David Chun stood in the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council, but his seat was no longer modest. Humanity now occupied a platform equal in height to the most senior Council species beside the traditional Council flag. A new banner hung, the blue and white of United Earth. The Council recognizes Ambassador Chun, High Counselor Vekthar announced, his tone respectful now, lacking the condescension of past meetings. Chun rose, looking out across the assembly. 6 months ago, I stood in this chamber and begged for help. I warned you about the Zerithian threat. I pleaded with you to defend the innocent, and you laughed. The Council members shifted uncomfortably. No one met his gaze. Today, I stand here as the new High Ambassador of United Earth. Chun continued, not because my people conquered anyone, not because we sought power, but because we did what you should have done. We defended the defenseless. We stood against tyranny. We proved that civilization means protecting those who cannot protect themselves. Lumineth representatives' light pulsed softly. Ambassador High. Ambassador, humanity has certainly earned respect, but many species worry about your military strength. 200 warships. With rumors of more being constructed, what are humanity's intentions? Chun smiled, but it was not unkind. Our intentions are simple. We will never again trust our survival to others. We will maintain the strongest military necessary to ensure Earth and its colonies are secure. But we have no interest in conquest. We have 17 million colonists to protect and integrate. We have reconstruction efforts underway in a dozen systems. We have trade agreements to negotiate and diplomatic relationships to build. And if another threat emerges, ask the Quorum Counselor. Then the Council can call upon us. Chun replied, just as we called upon you, and unlike what happened 6 months ago, we will answer. The statement hung in the air, a subtle rebuke and a promise. Bothfeather clicked his mandibles. Thoughtfully, the Council proposes a new designation. Earth will be recognized as a protectorate species. You will maintain military sovereignty while also serving as a defensive force for Council interests. We prefer the term Strategic partner. Chun countered, "We are not your servants or your soldiers for hire. We are equals who choose to cooperate for mutual benefit." After lengthy debate, the Council agreed. Humanity became the first species in galactic history to maintain a military fleet while also being granted full Council membership without restrictions. News of the agreement spread throughout human space on Earth. Celebrations erupted in every major city. Humanity had gone from barely spacefaring primitives to galactic power in just 30 years. Admiral Sarah Kowalski, now promoted to Fleet Admiral, oversaw the expansion of Earth's defense forces. New shipyards opened on Mars, Europa, and Titan. Volunteers from every nation continued to enlist, drawn by the promise of defending humanity's place among the stars. But Kowalski knew the truth: war was expensive, and Earth had spent enormous resources building its fleet. The economy strained under the burden of maintaining 200 warships plus the new vessels under construction. She met with Chun in a secure facility on Earth. "We need allies," she said bluntly. "Real allies. Not just trading partner species that will fight beside us if another threat emerges." Chun nodded. "I've been approached by several species. The Valkyrie want access to our tactical training programs. The Lumineth want to study our weapons technology. Even McQuarm have expressed interest in defensive pacts. Can we trust them?" "No," Chun admitted. "But we can work with them. The Council species are soft for millennia of peace. But they're not stupid. They've seen what Deathworlders can do when threatened. They want to learn from us, to become stronger, to ensure they never face extinction because they forgot how to fight." Over the following months, Earth signed mutual defense treaties with 6 Council species in exchange for military cooperation. Humans gained access to advanced Council technology. Fusion reactors became more efficient. FDL drives became faster. Medical technology leaped forward. Decades. Human military instructors traveled to alien worlds, teaching Council soldiers how to fight. The training was brutal by galactic standards, pushing species beyond what they thought possible. A Valkyrie officer, after completing a human combat course, told a reporter, "I thought I understood warfare. I commanded ships and simulations for decades, but humans showed me I knew nothing. They taught us that war isn't about technology or numbers. It's about will, the absolute refusal to accept defeat." Earth's military academies became the most prestigious in the galaxy. Young beings from dozens of species applied for admission, hoping to learn from the Deathworlders who had defeated the Xarathians. But not everyone celebrated humanity's rise. Some species viewed humans as dangerous. Warmongers. Fringe groups protested human military bases. Activist organizations called for restrictions on human weapons development. Conspiracy theories spread about human plans for galactic domination. Chun addressed these concerns in a galaxy-wide broadcast. "I understand the fear humanity comes from a harsh world. We evolved as predators. We carry weapons that terrify peaceful species. But consider this. We could have conquered the Outer Rim after defeating the Xarathians. We could have claimed their territories as spoils of war. We could have become the very thing you fear." He paused, his voice softening. "Instead, we went home. We rebuilt what was destroyed. We offered aid to former enemies. We chose cooperation over conquest. That is who humanity is. We are warriors when we must be. But we prefer to be builders, explorers, scientists, artists, and friends." The broadcast helped, but Chun knew that humanity would always carry the weight of being Deathworlders. Their strength would always inspire both admiration and fear in the Xarathian territories, now reduced to a fraction of their former size. The collective struggled to rebuild. Their military was dismantled. Their leadership faced war crimes trials. Their economy collapsed under reparation payments. Former commander Zek Thrax serving a life sentence in a human-administered prison, gave an interview that was published across the galaxy. We thought conquest was easy. We had superior technology and superior numbers, but we didn't understand what we faced. Humans don't fight for glory or resources. They fight for each other. Every human soldier believes that their comrade is worth dying for. That kind of loyalty makes them unstoppable. When asked if he thought the Zerithians could ever defeat humanity, he laughed bitterly. Defeat them? We're fortunate they let us survive. If they had wanted to erase our species from existence, I believe they could have done it. Deathworlders don't lose wars. They end them. Back on Earth, Fleet Admiral Kowalski stood in the redesigned command center, watching as her fleet patrolled humanity's expanding sphere of influence. New colonies were being established. Trade flourished. Human culture spread through the galaxy. Then the alarm sounded. Admiral, her operations officer called out, voice tight with tension. We're receiving distress calls from the galactic edge. Multiple Council species reporting attacks by unknown vessels. They're requesting immediate assistance. Kowalski pulled up the tactical display. The attacks were coordinated, hitting 3 systems simultaneously. Whoever these attackers were, they were organized and powerful. Identification? She asked. Unknown. The officer replied. The descriptions match nothing in our database. Council intelligence has no records of this species, Admiral. They're asking specifically for human assistance. Kowalski smiled grimly. 6 months ago, the Council had abandoned humanity. Now they called upon Deathworlders for protection. The irony was not lost on her. Send a fleet-wide alert. She ordered all ships prepare for deployment. Contact Admiral Chuntel. Her to mobilize the Second Fleet. Her XO hesitated. Admiral, shouldn't we wait for Council authorization? Get more intelligence about the threat. No, Kowalski said firmly. The Council called for help. Humanity answers. That's what we promised. That's what makes us different. Within the hour, human fleets across the galaxy began moving toward the distress signals. Destroyers jumped to FTL. Carriers launched their fighter wings. Marines loaded into assault shuttles on the bridge of Un's Indomitable, now commanded by Captain Marcus Chen. The crew prepared for battle. Marcus looked at his Marines, veterans of the Zarathian War, and saw determination in their eyes. All right, people, he announced over the ship-wide channel. Unknown. Hostiles are attacking Council species. They asked for Deathworlders. They're going to get Deathworlders. Let's show the galaxy why you don't mess with humanity's allies. The ship jumped to FTL, followed by 100 others. The human armada raced toward the unknown threat, ready to defend species that had once mocked them, ready to prove that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their weapons or their tactics or their Deathworld origin. It was their unwavering commitment to protect those who needed help. Ambassador Chun watched from Earth as the fleet departed. Beside him stood his nephew's father, the former ambassador David Chun, now retired but still consulted on major decisions.